Guys, we're back. We're back live. Let's just kick straight off to where we were, and I might even be able to stitch the two bits together after they're uploaded later.
Will we? I don't
Yeah,
remember.
cool.
So, were we doing? I obviously missed what you guys were discussing for the last few
Yeah, well,
minutes. So,
you just kept freezing, so Sherry kind of took over, and we were doing the pound for pound list, but we were live for a bit, and then we all just noticed we weren't live anymore, so we don't know how much of that people even seen or whatever.
Take it back to Tom and take it from the top. Just run through your top
Yeah,
five.
yeah,
Listen, what I was saying was, sorry to take over again, but just I'll just carry on what I'm saying. It doesn't necessarily have to be a pound for pound top five. Just your personal favorite.
yeah.
Yeah, so what did I say? Fury because he's a great talker and a good fighter. I said um, Errol Spence because he might be the future. Golovkin because I love his style, and if I include Golovkin, I gotta include Gonzalez, and then Andre Ward because he's the best technician. Honorable mentions probably Terence Crawford, and I won't put in Pacquiao because he's past it now, and I want to move on to new lads.
Fair enough. Paul,
Yeah.
go for it, mate.
Yeah, well, I wrote it out earlier, as I said. But I guess it is a pound for pound list, but it is, yeah, like you say, it's just a favourites list. It's based not on resume or anything. I've got Roman Gonzalez at 5, Sergey Kovalev at 4. I've got Vasyl Lomachenko at 3. Gennady Golovkin at 2, and Manny Pacquiao at 1.
Fair play, mate. I might as well go next and we'll finish off with BG in it. But with me, like I haven't obviously written this down. This will all be off the top of my head.
I can name it for you now. At number 5, it's Amir
No.
Khan. Number 4, it's
I
Amir
knew you were gonna say
Khan.
that.
Number
No.
3.
Now, to be fair, look, for me, it's about who I like prefer watching the ring, like who excites me, who has fights, whether they're winning or losing or whatever,
Yeah.
getting knocked the fuck out, like you said, Amir Khan, yeah. But people like that who you're on the edge of your seat when you're watching a fight.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, look, I gotta agree with Paul. Paul's obviously got it at number 3. For me, wherever he ranks it is relevant, but he's one of my top 5 most exciting fighters. I think we'll all be able to agree on this. Vasyl Lomachenko, what this guy has offered boxing in his 7 fights he's had. He's
Yeah.
bringing a whole new dimension to the sport. I've never seen a fighter like him. Very, very
No, I
dynamic.
haven't.
The things he's doing. I'm not saying, look, he's going to be the greatest fighter of all time, but he's arguably the greatest amateur of all time. And on top of that, just the things he's doing in them, and this. I don't know if you guys have seen on Twitter. There's a link that keeps getting sent around of him and is it Usyk or what's his name?
Yeah,
Usyk.
Alexander Usyk. They trained together in the same Olympic
Yes.
team, didn't they?
You
Yeah.
know, yeah, they're both. Yeah, exactly. So it's the way they do that. The glove, they pull down the glove and then throw the punch. Have you seen that?
No.
So they'll throw either a lead punch or a jab, and then they'll kind of tap the top of their opponent's glove to push the guard down. So if they're going for a right hook, they'll push the guard down and with the left jab, and they'll literally just land clean with a hook. So it's very. I recommend you type it on YouTube.
Oh, Lomachenko does that in fights. I've seen him do that 3 or 4 times.
That's what I'm saying. I've never seen that until I saw the highlights. I've never paid attention to it. But when you slow down, you appreciate the fact that okay, it's unorthodox. Some people might not like it and say, "Oh, that's not it's not cheating, but it's not really clean boxing, is it? You're kind of like pulling the guy's glove down. But if it's legal and he's getting away with it, then it's not really something to complain about. Like I said, it brings a new dimension to it. Lomachenko is just going to go from strength to strength as far as I'm concerned. It's a very, very dangerous prospect for anyone. Golovkin, again the way he fights, the excitement he brings to the ring, you can't really argue with the knockouts. All you can ask for is just that someone gets in the ring with him. Golovkin's incredible. That's 2 there. Based on excitement, fighters such as Manny Pacquiao, Amir Khan, I'd throw them in there just in the next 2 because the speed, the vulnerabilities, the many, many good fights have given us over the years. And then I know he's retired, but Floyd Mayweather's going to be back at some point, and let's not deny the fact that regardless of whether he's a defensive fighter or he's a bloody he's running around the ring, it's not the point. What if you appreciate boxing and you see Mayweather in the ring, you're seeing something special. You're never going to see a fighter like that again. Anyone he gets in the ring with, he just makes him look silly. He takes everything away from them, and he's just the complete fighter in that regard. Obviously, since 2013 onwards, we've seen a regression in his style in terms of he's gone a lot more defensive. Back when after the Miguel Cotto fight, when he got bloodied up a bit in the nose, his dad decided to get him back on defense again, and we've seen a very defensive Mayweather. But again, he just dominated everyone, hasn't he? Really. So for me, that's just 5 off the top of my head. Like I said, I didn't really think through it. If you asked me for a pound for pound current top 5, I'd be saying some different names altogether. But these are guys who I just love to watch personally. What about you, Tom?
Sounds good. Yeah. If we take pound for pound and resume out of it, if we're talking about
Personal
skill,
favourite.
I guess are we just doing personal favourites?
Personal favourite. What do you like to watch in the ring?
Okay. For me, I like to watch technical boxers who have high output. So what I mean by that is I like to see Lomachenko, not Rigondeaux. And in terms of the guys who I class in that, I'd say certainly Vasyl Lomachenko, Billy Joe Saunders. Those would be 2 personal favourites of mine. Nathan Cleverly has always been someone I'm a huge fan of. Tyson Fury is obviously my favourite fighter. And I guess I've also got to throw in a guy who I really, really enjoy watching, who's an aggressive, outgoing, technical fighter. And I know Irish Tom's going to crack up at this, but it's Zolani Tete. I'm a huge fan of that guy as a fighter, and I think he's great to watch. Yeah.
Now, fair play. Tete is one of those guys that's going to be overlooked for a long time until he gets
beaten by until he gets his arse handed to him by Rigondeaux.
Oh, that's a good debate to have.
I think he'll probably get avoided, to be honest, quite a bit.
Yeah, he will.
Because he is superb. I mean, I maybe won't go as far as Tom with the sort of like one of the best of all time type of thing, but he is a fantastic fighter.
It's one of those things you have to look at it. Him against a Lee Haskins or a bloody Jamie McDonald, he'd kill them, wouldn't he?
Oh yeah. Different.
Yeah.
He's going to break Rigondeaux's jaw. Trust me on that.
No. Come on. Rigondeaux all the way.
Rigondeaux all the way. No, that's an interesting one. Guys, let's look ahead to the fights this week. It's not a vintage week of boxing, but there's 2 fights worth mentioning. Jarrell Miller, much hyped US prospect. He's moving into the top 25 heavyweights, I guess, with his fight against Fred Kassi if he were to win that. Also, Errol Spence versus Bundu. I guess the big question there is, will Spence be the first man to stop Bundu? What are your thoughts, guys? Anyone got any predictions on those fights?
I think Spence will stop him. I think Spence is, he seems to have it all, doesn't he? He looked really good against Algieri. He's got power. I know Bundu's is durable and stuff, but when he's gone in with people that I would consider capable of knocking him out, they've looked weird. They haven't looked like themselves. Like Thurman, I've never seen Thurman fight like that. In any other fight other than that one. So what happened? I've got no idea. I can see Spence stopping him. Maybe, yeah. Kassi, Miller, I don't really care too much about. I don't really like either of them. So
yeah, Fred Kassi is not typically the most entertaining guy to watch, is he?
No. He's no Anthony Ogogo, that's for sure.
No Zolani Tete. Irish Tom, you got any predictions ahead of the weekend, mate?
Spencer to win, and the heavyweights. Oh, I don't know. Like Miller, I haven't seen really anything of him, and Kassi is designed to make fighters look bad. So, anytime we've seen these American heavyweight prospects come up against Kassi, they've either they kind of looked out in a close decision. We've had Mansour knocked him out late, and we had Brazil have a very close fought fight with him. So I don't think Jarrell Miller is up to much. From what I remember, I've seen him. I don't think he's any good. So it'll probably be a crap fight, and he'll scrape through and get a decision.
Okay. Sherry, what about yourself, mate? Is that you got an eye on either of those this weekend?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Errol Spence and Bundu fight. Bundu is a guy who, again, we saw against Keith Thurman, he's not someone who's gonna, just roll over. He'll be in the fight to an extent, but I think Errol Spence is a different prospect to Keith Thurman, and especially the way Keith Thurman approached that fight after he got the knockdown. He didn't really go for the kill. He kind of said, I wanted to show my boxing skill and not go for the knockout for whatever reason. Errol Spence, total different kettle of fish. I think he's going to go in there, he's going to smash Bundu, not because Bundu's not good, not because he's not durable, he's not a strong fighter. I just feel like Errol Spence is at that point in his career where he's just going to trailblaze through all these guys until he crosses path with a top 5 welterweight, and we'll see just how good he really is. But I think he's going to stop Bundu within 6 rounds. I think Chris Algieri, obviously, look, yeah, he came from 140 to fought Amir Khan, and then who was the other guy he fought in December? I forgot his name. Eric Bonet, and then he's got smashed by Errol Spence, hasn't he? But again, Chris Algieri is a durable guy. Took a beating against Provodnikov, took a beating against Pacquiao. He's got a decent chin, I'd say. He goes down, but he gets up, doesn't he? But against Errol Spence, the beating was just too much for him, and Spence is a big, strong welterweight. I think Bundu's a bit older as well. He's about 40 odd, isn't he? So that will play a factor as well. But Bundu's a solid European level fighter, but Spence is a guy who's literally on the cusp of world level honours now. So it's kind of it'll be a stylistic mismatch because Spence has got so much power and technique compared to Bundu's like a sly veteran. Put it that way, he's a sly, awkward veteran. And how we were just saying about I'll relate it to an extent to what Tom just said, or Paul, whoever said it. Sorry, I forgot who said it about Fred Kassi being put against these guys to make him look bad. I think Bundu is potentially, in regards to how he makes people look, he's put against Frankie Gavin and he beat him, didn't he? So it's one of them ones where guys have been put against him thinking that he might be a tough fight, but he's beatable. But then he ends up giving him a very good account of himself. So I think either way he'll do well, but I think Spence is going to end up finishing him off within 6 rounds. But the heavyweight fight, I'm not even going to lie to you. I don't know who he is, so I'm not going to bother.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Yeah, I don't disagree with the predictions. I think Errol Spence is going to stop Bundu, be the first man to stop him, and I reckon Fred Kassi will probably go the distance against Jarrell Miller and make him look bad in a terrible fight. But Jarrell Miller will probably get through, I would say, and get a victory.
While we're still on the topic of sorry, Tom.
Go ahead, mate.
Spence and Bundu. Obviously, look, we've got some. This is the thing with boxing. So many different ramifications and things are impacted by one mega fight or fantasy match being made. Obviously, look, with Kell Brook, whether he wins or loses is irrelevant. He's still the IBF welterweight champion, and his mandatory will be obviously Errol Spence should he come through on Saturday or Sunday without any major upsets. Do you think he vacates title next?
I don't think he can ever make 147 again, mate. So I don't think it's even.
Why the Golovkin fight is the perfect cover up for any excuse now, isn't it? Because they can say, "Oh, I can't make 147 now to fight Errol Spence after vacate my title. I haven't got a choice." And then in that way, they avoid losing to a prospect or risking a loss to a prospect. Is that another a lucky coincidence? Would you say?
If I'm honest, I don't believe that was part of the decision-making process. I would agree it's a fortunate coincidence, but fundamentally, I do think Kell was after the big fights at 147, be that Pacquiao, be that Vargas, be that Danny Garcia, and they just weren't happening for him. So I think he's taken this as a result of that, not looking to avoid Spence. But yeah, you are right. I think it is a happy coincidence potentially.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense to me. I'm not saying that he avoided him, but just I feel like that's how it's going to work out now, where that would be the perfect excuse for Hearn to talk up, and Hearn can talk shit and he can make it sound very, very good. So I think it's going to be a good cover up for Kell Brook when he comes off this loss.
Interesting stuff, guys. We've been live for well over 2 hours now. Before we sort of move towards wrapping it up, I'll just do a quick whip round the panel, see if anyone else has got anything further to add. From previous experience, Irish Tom always has something further to add, so we'll come to him last. Paul, have you got anything to go with, mate?
I just wanted to say one thing briefly, because I wasn't here last week either to talk about the Andre Ward brand fight and stuff. And I just wanted to kind of make a bit of a point about, I know Andre Ward hasn't got, he's not a knockout puncher and whatnot, and then there's the other side of it, guys that have got really, really good chins and whatnot. But, with accumulation and accuracy, people can still be stopped, you know, and that's, I guess that's kind of like my issue with fighters sometimes, especially when, you know, they, in the case of Andre Ward, he kind of like he needed to make a bit of a statement with this. You know, that was his intention. He clearly wanted to. He even said after the fight that, you know, he was disappointed he didn't get the knockout. And just you know, kind of like Andre Ward for me is not the fighter he was. He's not the fighter he was in the Super Six. Obviously, it's obvious when you look at him that he's a, you know, immensely skilled guy. But you know, there's just this idea that, you know, like you know, if a guy's not a huge concussive puncher, that you know, they can't get stoppages and stuff, and it's not the case, you know. So yeah, that was all I wanted to say. I don't even know why it came to me, but
no, that's fair enough, mate. I hear what you're saying there. Sorry, anything further from yourself, mate, before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I mean, today obviously we went on a bit of a tangent on a few different things, which is nothing wrong with that. That's part of the show, I guess. But I mean, we haven't really touched on the Olympic boxing. I don't know if anyone's been watching it. I wouldn't say I followed it religiously, but I've been tuning into some of the bigger UK fights, to say the least. I mean, that Josh Buatsi, he's going to be a killer at light heavyweight. I don't know if anyone saw him.
Yeah, he's at the heavyweight in the Olympic terms, isn't he? Yeah.
He was light heavyweight at Olympics. Obviously, when he turns pro, he'll probably be a bit less.
Super middle. He'd be super middle, yeah.
Super middle,
he did look good. He did look really good.
He's made for the pros, I think. He's made for the pros. He's going to be a solid guy to look at. Obviously, Michael Condon got robbed.
A travesty. A travesty.
That was a joke. Absolute joke. Disgraceful. But you know what it is? It's not just that. Most of Team GB went out pretty earlier in the first preliminary fights, and that for me is a worrying sign that either they're too concerned with being pros and fighting like pros, is going in there and having wars and trying to just, you know, bully someone, where you've got slick boxers in there who are maybe not necessarily hurting the British boxers, but they're just too technically efficient. And it's worrying because as much as we're on top of the world in terms of professionally, we've got the most champions and we are pretty much the you know, driving force of boxing right now. People want the UK fighters, but it's concerning for the future, isn't it? I mean, for them to all pretty much get knocked out in the first round, and then, of course, you know, the excuses begin to pour in. But to be fair, a lot of them came up against the guys who are probably going to go on to win the gold or the silver. So in that regard, you know, they didn't have the luck of the draw, but at the same time, you expect a bit more, don't you? You got the young Muhammad Ali. I don't know if anyone heard about him, the 20-year-old Asian lad. He fought the other day. I think he bypassed the first stage because his opponent got injured or pulled out or something. And he was thrown against.
He got the bypass because his name was so good.
No. Yeah,
so what, though, there was a lot of bad judging in that.
This is it. The judging,
I saw as well.
Yeah,
not just with the English guys, but I don't know if did anybody see the Kazakh guy and the Russian guy, and the Russian guy got the decision, and it was like so clearly the Kazakh.
Yeah, he got battered. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was disgusting. Like, I couldn't believe it when they raised the Russian guy's hand.
This is what I'm saying. It's a bit crazy, but there's a lot. Honestly, there's a lot of young talent. Forget Great Britain. I'm talking about these Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Cuba. You know, even France. There's so much talent out there, which I think it's actually quite heartbreaking that we're not going to see a lot of these guys, whether they turn pro or not. We're not going to see them fulfill anything from their career, because bear in mind now, they're taking out the headgear. So to me, watching these fights, this is no different watching a pro fight in regards to what's happening in the ring. You know what I mean? The clean shots, they're getting caught, they're getting hurt, they're getting buzzed.
So much better. It's so much better. There's loads of infighting and everything. It's really good to watch.
In that regard, yeah, it's a bit more like pro boxing, but at the same time, I don't like the fact they removed the headgear, because these guys aren't getting paid grands and grands and thousands and hundreds and millions to go out there. They're getting their heads busted open, cracked and flipping skulls and all sorts of shit going on. You know, cutting their ears. Based on what? Just fighting in the Olympics, but they're not really, you know, you get what I'm saying? But they're not guaranteed to have a career after this. You know what I mean? The damage that they can potentially take is very dangerous. But Josh Buatsi a highlight for me, even though we've got this the super heavyweight division. We've got Joe Joyce is another guy who's going to get overhyped, and if he carries on winning, he'll be the Joshua 2.0. But he's a lot less technically gifted, but he's pretty much like the Terminator. He's coming forward, taking shots. He's not getting rocked, and he's beating people up. So I'm pretty sure he's going to get a silver or a gold. He's guaranteed the bronze, so he's just a matter of how far he goes. Then you've got there was a cracking fight the other day. I'm not sure if it was a middleweight fight. There was a guy named something Valdez, Cuban, and then there was a. I'd recommend you guys, if you've got BBC or iPlayer or anything like that, or BBC 4, if you can go on there, you can see this fight. And there's a guy called he's from France, something Mbili. I don't remember the first names, I just remember the surnames. Two solid middleweights. The Valdez, the Cuban, is world amateur champion for, at middleweight, and they actually fought before, and the French boxer beat him in a previous meeting. But now they moved up to a heavier division. They fought in lightweight before. Sorry, it wasn't middleweight; it was welterweight. They moved from lightweight, and now they're fighting in welterweight. So it was such a great fight. Put it this way, lads. It was basically the amateur equivalent of Keith Thurman and Sean Porter over 3 rounds. You had a guy who was volume and just relentless, coming forward on your chest, jumping on you, and genuinely getting through. And you had a guy who was a slick boxer who showed that he didn't need just. Okay, Keith Thurman didn't necessarily show this, but this guy showed that he can fight on the inside, and he was landing the cleaner punches. And it was just an all-round cracking fight. For me, that was so far has been the fight of the tournament in terms of competitiveness. But trust me, I'm telling you now, for the next 2 or 3 days, tune in. And tomorrow we've got a massive fight. I don't know if you've heard about Shakur Stevenson. He's fighting tomorrow. And potentially, if he does get past, well, sorry, no, he's actually bypassed the stage because the guy who beat Michael Conlan, who obviously they robbed, he's had to pull out due to facial injuries because Michael Conlan beat him so bad.
So Stevenson goes straight into the gold position.
Yes, so Shakur Stevenson straight through to the final, and whoever gets through the final, if it's a Cuban guy, then that's going to be a top level fight. And Shakur Stevenson's been touted as the next Floyd Mayweather, so and not necessarily just like overhyping him. He's actually very, very good. And Floyd Mayweather's taken him, actually being there in Rio, and he's taken him in a few interviews and said, look, this is the guy. So Floyd Mayweather knows who to look for in the future to sign to Mayweather Promotions, and Shakur Stevenson is a solid prospect, and he's going to be a big name. I'm very, very impressed. So trust me, guys, keep your eyes on the amateur boxing, man, because it's not boring with the headgear anymore. It's actually very, very real, but it's kind of it's a catch-22 for me because the headgear was, you need to protect these sort of people in amateur boxing, but at the same time, alcohol has my bloodthirst, and I'm a boxing fan at the end of the day. But definitely, lads, tune into it, man. Whenever you get a chance, enjoy it now while you can.
Yeah, I'll have a look at it. I've got iPlayer, so I'll have a look at that.
Good stuff for raising that, actually, Sperry. Some good points made. I certainly need to catch up on a few bits, which I will be doing, definitely. Irish, you got anything else to add, mate?
All I want to say is that, I'm the only man left standing here. We've got no Jet tonight. Sherry has been missing an odd time here, cutting in and out. We've had Paul gone for a couple of weeks. Even boxing went on holidays, and I'm the only fella that was here prepared to be for all of these. So I just thought I'd say that.
To be fair,
fair enough.
Absolutely fair. Tom, with his dedication, you are the sort of, I hate to say it, you are at the minute the Brad Pitt of the panel.
Oh shit! You must be some ugly bastards, boys.
You're the one that people are putting the requests in for. You are the consistent performer, but I think it's more because you don't have any job, any holidays, any friends, or any sort of wider life outside of the podcast.
So what you're saying, Tom, is it's all because of sympathy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I initially put up the video saying like, who wants to be on the podcast panel, and I got 35 people, and I had to whittle it down to you guys. And Irish Tom, certainly it was a sympathy vote. He sent me an email. I've got literally nothing in my life. I've been sitting staring at the wall for the last 5 or 6 hours. Like, give me something to do. So.
And more fool you bastard, for giving me another place.
It's no. They're all calling for you to set up your own channel, Tom.
Tom is a legend. Tom is a legend.
I will, and I'll do some like Irish dancing lessons on it for you, or something like that. Potato cultivation.
Potato cultivation.
Yeah, potato.
Tom, do you want to sing us out, mate?
No, my voice is a bit dry here. I haven't had a glass of water, so I'm not in proper nick.
You're not.
Maybe next week. I might do a rap.
Week, yeah.
I might do a rap next week. Maybe some MC Hammer or something like that. That'd be cool.
That would be good. guys, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks to the panel for bearing with me, and thanks to everyone for watching for bearing with the IT issues there. But we covered a lot. So yeah, have a good evening, everyone, and thanks for watching as always.
Yeah, cheers everyone. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.